Leandro de Souza says, I would like to know the difference between past perfect and present perfect. I don't know the exact moment to use each other. Now, this is a totally normal thing to be concerned about. This is a totally reasonable question because it's hard. Now, you're not going to be satisfied with my answer completely because it really requires the context to answer completely of tons of examples connected to other tenses and then talking about the relationships between them with those tons of examples. Now, I know you guys are sick of hearing me say this, but if you want to really seriously learn this, I have a course called Master Native English. The second section of the course is all about tenses. We cover all tenses in that course. All the tenses. How to use them with tons of examples. It's over an hour and a half, I think, just about tenses, among tons of other topics, but that's one. Anyway, I want to just sort of dive into this specific thing. We can talk about these two. But if you really want to get the details, I would go there. Think of the present. Let's start with present perfect. Think of the present perfect tense as a way to talk about something that began in the past and is still going on, or a statement about the general past without being specific about time. That is just true in your life. And I have to give examples. But the basic structure for the present perfect tense is a subject, right? And then you use have or has, right? Have or has. And then you use a past participle. Now, what is a past participle? Past participle is a verb like gone, seen, done, been, eaten, taken. This type of verb is called a past participle, okay? So the basic structure would be to say something like, I have been, and now I'm going to say just something that's true in my life, but I'm not focusing on the time. I have been to Thailand 5 times. 5 times? Yeah, maybe 5 times. I'm not telling you when it happened or when those times happened. We're not talking about dates. We're not talking about anything like that. Just saying it's true right now about my personal past. And I'm referencing all of my past experience without being specific. If I'm specifically talking about the past, moments in time, then I'll just use simple past tense. I went to Thailand last year in February or whatever, right? So you want to just talk generally about the past. You use the present perfect tense, and it's going to be that subject and then have or has and then the past participle. Okay? Now, you could then use that exact same format to talk about something which has I don't want to use it. I don't want to confuse you. So just, let me restart that. I almost used the present perfect tense to explain myself. And I don't want to do that because I don't want to cause confusion. You can use that same structure to talk about a thing that is true or that you're doing now, which started before. And a simple way to say it is think about your life now. And then when did that begin? Right? It can't be something that's over. It has to be ongoing. So, I have lived in New York, New York, for 4.5 years. I have lived in New York for 4.5 years. Now, can I say I have lived in Ohio for 18 years. No, I should say I lived in Ohio for 18 years. It's finished. It's done. It's all done. It's in the past. It's a past event, right? So I probably won't say that. I'll say I have lived in New York for 4.5 years. Or I could say since. I have lived in New York since 2016. I'm referencing the past, and this thing is still true. I still live here. I'm there right now. Now, this is where it gets a little interesting here with the present perfect tense. We can do what's called the present perfect continuous tense. Now, don't get upset about this. Don't let this confuse you. It's the same thing. The only thing we're doing is now substituting in as our past participle, same structure, substituting in been, B-E-E-N, been. And so the basic structure is now subject, have or has, been, only one past participle, then some ing verb. And the ing verb should reflect or show that thing, the action that's still continuing now, that's still going on now from the past. So I have lived here for 10 years. By the way, lived is the simple past and the past participle form, is the same as I have been ing, living here for 20 years, 10 years, 5 years, 4 years. I have been living here for 4.5 years. I have been working here since 2012. Right? We have been watching this movie for an hour. We have been watching this movie for an hour. This live stream has been going on for 1 hour and 5 minutes. Now, I'm not saying I there, right? I'm just using I to make it simple because I don't want to confuse anybody. But the basic idea is really just anything, thing, a person, a we, whatever it is. Now, you have to change the have or has. This live stream, not have, has been going on for an hour and 6 minutes. Still going on. Once it's over, I can't do that anymore. I have to use something else. I'll just say, yeah, I did a live stream. I did a live stream for an hour and 6 minutes yesterday. It's done. All right, so that's present perfect tense. Now, what about past perfect tense? How do we do this? This one is a little bit tough. When we talk about past perfect tense, we're doing kind of the same thing, except we're shifting everything over one space. So that instead of, I want you to imagine that my nose is the present. Okay? In present perfect continuous, here's the beginning point, and my nose is moving this way, away from it, representing the current present moving forward, right? I have been living here for 4.5 years, 4 years and 3/4, 5 years, like that, right? It's going on. But if it's past perfect tense, then take this now point and move it over also into the past. So now there's no reference to the present anymore. Everything is in the past, and then there's another point in the past before the past thing. So let's call that the past of the past. Now, this is different than just saying two things in the past. I bought a computer yesterday, and then I set it up, and then I ate lunch, and then I had a cup of coffee. These are just dong, 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 dong events in a row. Simple past. Easy. But when we want to connect these things together to say that this thing ended in the past, but it was going on for a long time, just like present perfect tense, then we use the past perfect. Or we have one action and then another action that's kind of the same thing, and they're related somehow to past points. Everything is in the past. Right? But again, we're probably not referencing the specific times, because when we're using present perfect or past perfect, we're generally not using specific times. So an example. I had been living in, where was I living? China until my wife and I decided to come back to the United States. So we decided to do that in the past. I had been living in China until my wife and I moved to the United States. Are we moving now? No, it's done. It's over. It's finished. It's a past point. And before that, there was a thing going on. What was going on? I was living in, just like the present perfect tense, I am living in New York. I was living in China. So I had been living in China until I moved to the United States with my wife. So it's the same logic, right? Except instead of this being the present moment, we're kind of moving everything over. But everything else is the same. Notice, though, that I'm not using have or has. I'm using had. So grammatically, that's the only change. Logically, it's exactly the same, except we're just moving it over so it excludes the present. Okay? Now, let's say I want to talk about my most recent trip to Thailand. My most recent trip to Thailand was 6 months ago. 6 months ago, I went to Thailand for vacation. Now, just like I said before, I have been to Thailand 5 times, right? Okay, so I have been to Thailand 5 times. I'm talking about right now, currently in my life, this situation, total life experience. I'm not saying dates or anything. 5 times, totally. It's 5 or 6. I don't know how many. But if I then reference the most recent time, now I'm shifting it back. I'm talking about a past point. I went to Thailand, the last time I went, the most recent time. I went to Thailand 6 months ago. Now I want to reference, just like I did for present perfect, I want to reference all of the things before that past time. I went to Thailand 6 months ago. I had been there 4 times before. Before the last time, before the 5th time, I had been in Thailand or had visited, I could say had visited Thailand 4 times previously. I'm not saying the dates, I'm not saying when that happened, and so I use past perfect tense. So just to be very clear, we got a sort of logic thing happening, and it works for both, and we're just really changing a couple things. For the logic part, we're just shifting the past perfect back in time so that the present is no longer referenced. And then for the grammar part, we're just changing the have, has to had, and that's it. That's it. So hopefully that makes sense. If you guys have questions about this, let me know in the comments. If you haven't already, make sure you hit the like button. That would be great. Don't forget to subscribe so that you can see future videos. And check out my full courses in the links in the description. One of those courses, Master Native English, is on sale now. Check it out. Lesson 2, or Section 2, not Lesson 2. Section 2 is all about tenses. It's this stuff plus more in lots of detail to really get a feeling for it. So check that out. Take the courses. Definitely worth it. Good investment in yourself. I work hard on those. That's what I do. That's what I spend a lot of my time on. All right. Anyway, great question.